Well, aloha and good morning here, and welcome to the COVID-19 care conversation. We want to welcome all of our viewers who are tuning in with us yet again. Welcome to another Wednesday here on the Honolulu Star Advertiser. We want to encourage all of you tuning in to continue to spread the word about this show, and great to have everyone tuning in already. Good morning, I'm Ryan Kalei Tsuji.
And I'm Yunji Nies. Thank you so much for joining this conversation. This is brought to you by the Hawaii Executive Collaborative. They are a consortium of Hawaii business and civic leaders working to make Hawaii a better place. We so appreciate their support because we know that so many of you have questions, especially for today's guest, Ryan.
That's right. Director Murakami from the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations will be here. We know that there are a lot of people who have filed unemployment and have questions for the director. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to be asking him specific questions that have come in from you, the viewers of this programming. We've gone back and looked through all the comments that have been sent in. We know that a lot of comments were made during our other shows specifically about unemployment, so we sort of filter them all together and have them ready to go for the director. But we also want to continue to encourage you to send in your questions right now. We'll get to as many as possible. Before we do that, we want to give you an update, and it looks like that curve here in Hawaii at least is flattening, Yunji.
Yeah, we had some really mixed news yesterday. The great news is that there were only 4 new cases across the state, 0 on Oahu. That's amazing. Very, very significant there. A lot of people really happy about that. So the social distancing, wearing the masks, obviously staying home, all of that appears to be working. If you contrast those 4 new cases with the predictions for what could have been, there were some models that showed us having over 4,000 deaths at this point. But the mixed bag, of course, is that we just found out this morning there were 2 new deaths overnight, one on Oahu and the other on Maui, 2 elderly men, people over 65 with pre-existing conditions. So we are very sorry to say that there are now 12 deaths associated with COVID-19 in the state of Hawaii. But those 4 new cases, Ryan, I mean, that is amazing to see.
And that is exactly what state officials want to see, is really that flattening of the curve as we continue to see more and more efforts being placed to really keep people in and make sure that you stay at home till that order, which is going to be, the first round was, of course, till April 30th. We had Governor David Ige on yesterday, who said that will likely be extended to some degree. More details are expected later this week as well on that. Another big topic, of course, is that unemployment and the claims. But hundreds of state employees are now volunteering to kind of help in this process. This includes actually legislators as well, because of that backlog of the number of unemployment claims that have come into the state in hopes of speeding up checks for workers who have filed for unemployment due to the impact of COVID-19. Now, about 244,000 unemployment insurance claims were filed between March 1st and April 15th. That's roughly 37% of the estimated people living in Hawaii's and in Hawaii's labor force. So a lot of people out there right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's tremendous to see. Nearly 250,000 people, or 250,000 claims have been filed. Some of those, of course, could be duplicate claims, but that is just a staggering number. USA Today reporting that Hawaii now has the highest rate of unemployment, that is percentage, obviously, not actual numbers of people, but percentage-wise, in the nation. So that's a pretty dubious distinction, and those unemployment claims can't get paid fast enough. The person who is trying to help make all of that happen, of course, is the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations Director, Scott Murakami. Thank you so much for joining us again today. Give us an update. Where are we when you look at those numbers of claims? How many people are actually getting paid, and how are you doing in this process?
So what I can tell you is, as I've shared with you in the past, our system is rather antiquated. So the union measure changes as the claim gets processed. So what I can share with you is actually how much we've paid out last week, just from the trust alone, we paid out a total of $25,482,414. That's about a 651% increase over what we normally would pay on over a regular week. And that was the week in March, not in February. So just to be clear, it's a significant increase in the amount of money that we're paying out. The other thing I wanted to share with you is that I think I had told the public that on Friday was our target date to release our automated process for calculating the $600 plus up. We did have a little bit of challenge in compiling the code, but the good news is it went live on Saturday, and so people should be seeing the additional $600 plus up check, at least the people who already have existing claims with us. They'll see those checks on Wednesday. The total for just the federal plus up portion was $5.8 million. So last week alone, we paid out a third total, if you count the normal trust funds that we pay out and the federal $600 plus up monies that we paid in total $31.4 million just last week.
Wow, that's a lot of money, but there are a lot of comments here, people who feel like they are being missed. So a lot of questions we see here about 1099 workers, people who are self-employed. One woman writing in, I just saw back there, but the questions are coming in so fast that they feel like they've fallen off the radar. So what is the system for those who are self-employed, contractors, sole proprietors who are looking to file for unemployment?
Sure. So I think the first thing to understand is that the unemployment insurance program is truly an insurance program. So an employer actually pays in what are called contributions. They call it a tax, but it's a contribution to a trust fund that manages money for an individual who involuntarily separates from duty. So it is managed truly as a insurance program. So not only do we look out for the maximized benefit for the claimant, but we also have a fiduciary responsibility to the trust. Because independent contractors do not pay into that trust, they have to get purely federal dollars. And initially, when we had discussions with the federal government, we had discussed this as being completely separate, and our recommendation was really that it shouldn't come through the unemployment insurance program. And the reason is that independent contractors and 1099 vendors have not paid into it. I can tell you that it will stand up as a completely separate system because of that. It has to be completely separate from our unemployment insurance program. The reason is that the validation of the information that comes in, say, for example, the 1099 data or the self-reported income that comes in, I think it's on Schedule C for sole proprietors, we don't have any jurisdiction over that data. So it goes to the Department of Taxation. So we are in discussion with the tax department on how best to roll the program out. We have looked at scenarios in which if we were to run it, what our time frame would be. But our colleagues at tax are also working on a solution with us. So I can tell you that it's unfortunately going to be a separate system, that there is no system that we have that is capable of doing that. And that's why we're building it. And so at this point, do please wait. And I wish I could give you a better answer, but that's the truth. That's what the situation we're in now.
Okay, so anyone who is an Uber driver or a sole proprietor or a contractor, those guys simply don't file a claim, is what you're saying. You simply have to sit tight.
What I would share with you is if you're a 1099 vendor, that's the best way to put it, because there's some contention with Uber and Lyft drivers that they're actually covered employees. So for Uber and Lyft drivers, I would encourage you to just apply through the existing unemployment insurance program. Because initially when Uber and Lyft drivers came out, we were considering them covered employees. So they may qualify for benefits for unemployment insurance, but that is only for Uber and Lyft drivers. Mm-hmm. Any 1099 vendor, any sole proprietor who gets their self-reports their income, those individuals, unfortunately, I feel for you, but the best thing to do right now is to give us the time to let us develop the system so that we can support you.
And what is the time frame for that? When do you think that will be up and running?
So when we had looked at the system for the Department of Labor, I had come out and said our target date was I think it was the beginning of May. May. But I don't know how it's going to all roll out. We're still sticking with the May target if it is a program for labor. But I want to be careful because I do consult also with our tax office much more clearly. So we were looking at just the administration of it. How would we stand up a completely separate system? And that's what I was referring to when I spoke about May. But
right,
where we're at now.
So just to clarify, for all those people who have filed in the current system, again, we're sticking with the 1099, the independent contractors. Those who have applied for that system, they are getting these rejection letters,
Correct.
notices that have been sent back from the current thing, but through the state. But once this separate site you're saying is set in place, then that will be sort of the money that's coming down from the federal government, and they'll qualify for that.
That's correct. Yes.
Got it. Okay, thanks for clarifying that. Another question, we want to move on. Can you confirm that people will get back payment from when they initially filed, and if they still haven't received anything and they've been trying to reach out and get updates,
Right.
can you confirm that they will be able to claim and get those benefits if they still haven't heard anything back?
Yes, I can confirm to you that with all of your viewers that they will get their back pay. We will make you whole. But what we did was, if you have not received back pay and you're entitled to it, there is a dedicated email on our website now. And let me make sure I have the right email address for you. It is dlir.ui.backdate@hawaii.gov. That will make sure that we're notified that you have a backdate claim, and we will work to take care of that for you. And the email is actually on our website at labor.hawaii.gov. So if they go there, they'll be able to see it. Scroll down a little bit from our homepage, and you'll be able to see that website.
Okay, and we will update that in the notes below once this
Great.
broadcast is finished. We can't do that in progress, but we will put that on there because I know a lot of people will want to have that confirmation. I saw a lot of people saying that they're not getting a response. They're not sure. How do they actually know that they've been approved? If they haven't seen any money in their bank account, how do they know that they are in process?
So we're working on. I shared with the Senate committee that we're really trying to work on this third phase of solutions that we're providing to the COVID-19 situation. We're really trying to improve the messaging, because when I was going through some of the messages that come out, they're really written in a way that it's kind of UI vernacular, I guess is the best way to put it. When I looked at the system, um, what I think happened is the UI system really was designed to have more interaction with the claimant and the staff, because it's so personalized and so individualized, which was a lot of reason why it points people to make these calls back to our office. Unfortunately, clearly, when you've got 7 staff working on it and you have this inundation of um, unemployment claims, that type of approach isn't going to work. So we've been working on improving some of those messages, because it is confusing. And at least myself, when I read that, I was wondering, what does this really mean? What does this really tell the community? So I can tell you that we're trying to improve those messages now, and I hope that my intention is that they'll get much more understandable shortly.
And that goes also for those who are continuing to try to reach out, including a call center that you guys are also working on as well, correct?
Yeah. So as you can remember from previous discussions, we've set up now 2 call centers in different locations. So we are launching a 3rd call center at the convention center. And this one, so people have been calling and having busy signals. So I asked our staff, what exactly is going on, because we should be sending them messages about frequently asked questions and whatnot. And we found out that because we had only a limited time to set up these 2 call centers, it only can queue up about 115 calls. Everyone after that gets a busy signal. So if you're getting a busy signal, there's 115 people in front of you that unfortunately are also trying to call in. And that's why, what we're trying to do is launch a much more extensive call center. And our plan is to have that operational over the weekend. Because it has many more features, we have to actually train our staff on it, and we don't want to shut down services to the community. So we still can answer calls, in other words. So we're looking at doing the training, I think it was either in shifts on Saturday or on Sunday.
Okay, and the number will be the same. It's just that now you will have a lot more people actually being able to answer the phone.
Right, that's correct. And the phone system will have a lot more technical capabilities.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. We had trying to get through as many questions as we can. Another question that came in: if you can't get into your account, but the forgot password option says it doesn't recognize you, but you can't get through the phone lines, should you start a whole new account?
Unfortunately, in that situation, it sounds like the individual may have forgotten their username, and so that would suggest that they already had a pre-existing account. Sorry, I'm trying to think through this as we're talking. So it sounds like they had a pre-existing account. What that would mean is that they, in all probability, have some data on our system that would be necessary for us to make calculation to make sure that they get their maximum benefit. So I would say at that point, they would need to notify us to reset their password. Otherwise, we'll lose that additional data. So I'm sorry about that, but they would have to keep trying to call us so that we can reset their password.
Another question that came in, and again, we compiled these. These are from the viewers who had written in before, and we're also looking at the ones that are coming in now. So continue to type those in, please. What do you do if you receive an email or a letter saying that you are disqualified, but you feel like that's wrong?
So we did get a number of concerns about that, and part of the reason they may be disqualified is that they may have had a prior claim, and when that claim may have been denied, and when it's denied, they have an indefinite disqualification date, and we just need to make changes to that. So we've set up also a disqualification email address that's posted up on our web page, that our homepage, and they can go and email that account, and we'll get back to them as quickly as we can.
Okay.
Some of them are legitimate disqualifications. I do have to tell you that, because not everyone is qualified for unemployment insurance, because again, as I described, it is an insurance program, so you have to qualify for it. But if it is something technical like that, that's what the email was set up for.
Let's say you do get a confirmation email, you're good to go. Do you need to file every week? How does that part work?
Yes, you do. So first off, the first thing you need to do is you get the confirmation email. You need to make sure you have an online account. That's really important. And there's a step-by-step guide on our website now that helps people through it with a number of PowerPoint presentations. But once you set up your online account, yes, you do have to file weekly, and or weekly or bi-weekly. In most cases, it's going to be weekly. And that certification is necessary because that's how we determine whether or not somebody has returned to work. And as a result, pay the appropriate or accurate benefit that they're entitled.
Okay. What would you advise for those that filed a claim more than 3 weeks ago and still did not receive a confirmation number or confirmation email?
So if it's been that long, I would suggest that you file another claim again, and you can file it through the web form if you can't get through our portal. But please, please try to be as accurate as you can. And the reason is that the claims are a clean claim. A clean claim that has all the information on it will go through our system and get processed in about 15 days. Normally, our window, if you recall, I was saying that we're allowed a federal window of 21 days to make the payment. But we've made alterations to our code, and it created some efficiencies along the way that allows us to pay from once we receive a clean claim, to be ingested in our system and to pay within 15 days. So I would suggest for that viewer, I would suggest to file a claim, but be very diligent and file it as accurately as they can.
So even if you're in the waiting period, do you still file every week?
Yes, you still have to file every week, and so the reason for that is that we don't know when COVID-19 is going to stop. And I know intuitively it doesn't make sense, but unfortunately, we also have a fiduciary responsibility to trust. So the question that the trust faces, how did you know that you paid the person the right benefit? And the way we determine that is that the weekly certification will tell us when the individual has returned to work. So if they don't file it, on the back end, we get a report from the employer. And if the employer said, no, I did pay this employee for this particular time when they were receiving benefit, that would trigger an payment to the benefit, to the recipient or the claimant. And we don't want to do that because that just creates more harm for the individual. And that's why the weekly claim certification is important.
I want to bring up this question from Mark here, who's saying, will there be any funds left for the self-employment individuals? As we know that you said you're waiting to build that system. It seems like it's being depleted. Numbers that you announced earlier, a lot of money going out there. What would you say to all those people who are self-employed waiting?
Mark, that's a great question. What I will tell you is that the fund for the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, which you're referring to, the 1099 and sole proprietor account, it's completely federal. It's completely federal. It doesn't have anything to do with our trust fund, and we've been assured that the money is going to be there. So rest assured that as long as the federal money is available to us, we're going to get it to you, and it has nothing to do with the balance of funds that are available in the trust.
I want to look back at that number, the 244,000 claims filed. Should we think of those as individuals, or if everybody's filing every week, that's actually far fewer then?
So basically what it is we know there's replication. There are two ways to apply it for our system. You can file through our web portal, and you can file through the form. We also know that people have been putting in multiple forms. So the 244 does have replication in it. So when this whole thing went, because we have an antiquated system, when the system started to degrade on the 18th, we weren't able to get very good analytics. There were very, very rudimentary types of analytics that we received. So the 244 number, I think it's much higher now, but that reflects filings. The number of people are actually filing it. They're not unique filings. There is replication in there. The other reason is that I'm technically not allowed to talk about claims. We can only talk about filings. And the reason is the Bureau of Labor Statistics actually sequesters us from reporting on individual claims data. So reported on filings. But it is a distinction with the difference though. And the filings are actually things that we're receiving. It becomes a claim when it gets ingested into our portal. So just keep in mind that 244,000 number that you're referring to earlier does have some replication in it. And I anticipate it to be quite high because people continually are trying to file. And just as we said, if somebody's been waiting that long, you really should file again. But just please try to file it as accurately as possible.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of questions here about oh, sorry, go ahead, Ryan. I'll ask.
Yeah, so we're seeing some questions here. This is one of similar to many that we're saying they can't log in high volume. The system is currently experiencing the high volume requests. Will that sort of ease up with time now that the new center is coming online and you're having more people trained? Is that something that will assist so that people aren't having any trouble with this backlog that and these notifications online?
Yes, there's a number of things that will help with that. First of all, we did create an inquiry portal. And what it does is let people inquire about the status of their claim. So please, if you are only inquiring about the status of your claim, please use that portal. That's what it was designed to do. That would alleviate the traffic off of our system and allow people filing their certifications to file it timely. If you don't file it early in the week, that's okay. We will make you whole for the entire period. The convention center also is designed to help us with that. So by all means, keep trying. I will have to say that late last week, we were notified that our web services were getting attacked by bots and people were writing scripts. So those things clearly are hurting the public good, and they are, impeding our ability to serve the community. So we did aggregate data on it. We sent it to the Attorney General's office, and our intention is to seek prosecution after individuals who are trying to attack our system, because you're not only hurting us, you're hurting your community, you're hurting your neighbors and your friends. So I understand that you may think this is an efficient way to do it, but you're really hurting people in the long run. So please do not do those sorts of things. We do, again, aggregate data, and we do share it with the Attorney General's office so that we can seek prosecution as necessary.
I'm seeing a lot of questions here about the money and whether these benefits are taxable or not. Are these considered taxable income? I think there's confusion because this does come from the government, so there's a feeling like it shouldn't be taxed. But can you clarify that, please?
My understanding is that it is taxable. It is a taxable income for an individual.
And so this would be the state benefit as well as the $600 as well that's being added on from this through the CARES package.
Yes, Ryan, it would.
Okay. Another question that we had: if someone is full-time but their claims say partial employment, what would you advise they do?
That's a good question. And I will tell you that you'll get your full benefit that you're entitled to. The reason it says that is you're probably receiving some additional benefit from your employer. What I mean by that is they may be a lot of when this happened, a lot of employers wanted to keep their employees what are called attached. So they didn't want to lay them off, or they didn't want to fire them or let them go. And that way, when they call them back, it'd be easier for them to call them back. And they also wanted to maintain their health benefit. So if you're receiving that message, it's probably because you're still an attached employee. And the intention at that time was, I believe, to process you as a partial recipient, because we weren't sure when your employers were going to call you back. So the byproduct is you do need to file weekly, but please don't worry about it. You are getting your full benefit on top of the benefit that your employer is paying you, which is in all probability your healthcare benefit program.
There's a couple of people, I think they've joined us a little bit late, but again, asking when the 1099 and those self-employed, those contractors, when that system is up and running. You're saying likely May, or do you have a date?
I don't have a date right now. I'm sorry. And again, so initially we were under the impression that the Department of Labor would be running it. We're in discussions now with the tax department on a more viable solution of it. When we at the Department of Labor were looking at creating a system for it, we were going to stand up a whole new system that we believed as our target date would be the early part of May. But we're still in discussions with the tax office, and I believe they have some consultants as well that have some viable solutions for it. So when we get something official, we'll be sure to let you know. But that's the most recent update that I have for you. Again, I'm not gonna in any way suggest that the tax office can do that, because they we're just at this point in discussion with them. The initial discussion was about, can we get access to your data, and that discussion shifted to, what if the tax department would do it? Would it be a more viable solution? And that was really our intention from the start when we had discussions with U.S. Department of Labor, that perhaps it would be a better program run out of another state department, because we just didn't have the verification data.
Can I ask, what is the window that you have when you've separated from your job? Let's say you separated from your job on, April 1st. How long after you separate can you file that claim? Because I think there's a lot of people who are very scared that, number one, the system will run out of money, or if they don't file soon enough, they won't be entitled to those funds. So what is the window for applying?
So the window for applying used to be a week. There used to be a 1 week waiting period, and after that 1 week waiting period, you could apply. But in the governor's first proclamation, he removed the 1 week waiting period. So you don't have to wait the 1 week. As soon as you lose your job, or as soon as you're no longer attached, please file your claim. But regarding the money, it is going on in large amounts. But we have applied for a line of credit. I guess the best way to consider is a line of credit with the U.S. Treasury, and we were assured that we will get that line of credit. So we have done the necessary things, including our projections that we're responsible for doing. We've completed all of the delegation authority from the governor, and we've sent that to the U.S. Department of Labor to make sure that we have access to the U.S. Treasury, and we are monitoring regularly the balance that's available in the trust.
Great. I know that you have to head out because we've been spending a lot of time with you. Final question from Loretta: what filing dates are being processed today? Is that sort of something where people can get a gauge if we are now processing 2 weeks ago today, or 3 weeks or so? People maybe have an idea of where they are sort of in this log.
Yeah, Loretta, that's a good question. The problem is that not all of the claims come in clean. If we had clean claims, it would give you a very good idea of what the status is. But we have claims that are not clean. They've come in with some type of error on them, and there can be a variety of errors with them, right? So one claim can have multiple errors on it, and so we're handling them in trying. I guess the best way to look at it is that the convention center claims activities are doing the oldest ones first. We're trying to get the oldest ones out first, because we do know that there is a cash flow issue. But that's my real concern, that our residents are going to experience cash flow issues. So they are doing the oldest ones first. But because there's so much variability in the condition in which we've received the claim, it's really hard to tell you specifically what date we're looking at.
Got it. All right, Director Murakami.
Yeah, and one last thing, I did
Yeah,
want to make
please.
sure that just to let you folks know, because there's this. Please know that all of the claims that we're processing at the claim center and at all of these locations are all statewide. They're not just Oahu claims. So please know that if you're on Kauai, Maui, Molokai on the Big Island, all of your claims are also being processed at the claim center. So please, please just to know we're taking care of everyone statewide. Okay.
Got that. All right. Thank you so much. We know you're a busy man with a lot going on. We appreciate you taking the time to respond to some of these questions. We'll see you again very soon and get hopefully more questions answered then as well. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Aloha.
Thank you. And we do read all of these questions. We know we tried to get to as many as possible. Please keep them coming in because we are inviting Director Murakami to come hopefully every week to answer questions because we know new people file and there are new frustrations. The good thing there, Ryan, is to know that number one, it is solvent because they have asked for and been assured that they'll receive that federal line of credit. So that's important to know that the money, as far as we know right now, is not going to run out. And that they are standing up that convention center training and call center so that more people will be able to answer these filings. Because it sounds like at the end of the day, you need a human basically at the end of almost each and every one of those claims.
Yeah, and also if you're getting that busy signal, it's likely because you have 150 people ahead of you, and that is the max capacity of how much people that line can take. But as he said, they are working on setting up that call center and that additional support that will be coming within the week or so. So continue to stay in touch. I know a lot of people may have tuned in late that you may have missed what he said about independent contractors and other things that were discussed earlier in the show. Please go back and watch this on the Star Advertiser website so that we can you can stay up to date with some of the other things that were discussed. And as Yunji said, we hope to have him back again next week to answer more questions. And so we encourage you to keep those questions coming in so we can review them and get them into the show hopefully next week.
Yeah, and we know that so many of you are incredibly frustrated. I think the whole state is very frustrated with the system, including the director himself. It's just simply not designed to handle this kind of volume. All right, let's move on to some other things. Walking and running on Oahu beaches is now prohibited. This is very important to clarify because we know a lot of you are trying to head out and get some exercise and whatnot, but the paper has a great write-up on the rules today. It is against the law to walk or run on the beaches. Same is true for city parks and beaches. You can walk across the beach to get to the water, but you can't linger.
That's right. And, I think there's a lot of questions about, especially coming from the neighbor islands as well, because some of the mayors, especially on Maui and Kauai, would like sort of those rules relaxed, and they want to be able to allow their island residents to be able to walk on the beach and hoping to get further clarification between what is a state beach and what is a city beach and what is allowed. And so there is a little bit of confusion, but for those here on Oahu, it's sort of in line with what the mayor has also set in place with what people are allowed to do on the beaches.
Yeah, and so the number one thing is it's, hopefully just a few more weeks of this. We saw, again, 4 positives yesterday announced, 4 new cases. So we are flattening the curve. It is working, and the more that we can comply, the sooner this will be over. So, but that was a very interesting article. If you do want to head outside and you are interested in going to a beach, we suggest you take a look at that article before you head out. We always like to have some positive news as well to brighten your day, and that is our Hawaii hero. Kamahao Ocean is an 8th grader at Waimea Middle School here on the Big Island. He's created the Pa'ina bag, a mix of produce and ocean harvested seafood that you can pick up in Waimea. It's a bag, and it's supporting local farmers and basically like a farmer's market box. That are impacted here on the Big Island, who have been impacted by COVID-19. So there's, people who normally would supply restaurants and hotels now supplying these boxes. And it's all thanks to this student who has stepped up as a leader in his community. So we want to acknowledge that. If you want to order a box, painabyocean.com.
That's right. I mean, hard to believe. He is 14 years old. His father is actually a chef in Waikoloa. And so he has sort of taken this on himself and has created sort of this conduit so that farmers can still get their products out. He also has a cooking demonstration on their page because he is an aspiring chef himself. And so I encourage you to head on over to Paina by Ocean. Again, this is Kamaha'o Kaneko, our hero of the day. So thank you to all the efforts that he and his family is doing there on Hawaii Island.
Yeah, we'd love to see that. We also want to acknowledge the state employees who are now stepping up to work at the on those unemployment claims. If you are a state employee and you want to help out with that effort, you can register online at hawaiiworks.org. Again, hawaiiworks.org. You have to be a state employee at this point to volunteer for this program. You are getting paid. We acknowledge that you are getting paid, but you're shifting your duties from whatever your other work was to this. And they're only allowing state employees at this point to step up for this because of the confidential nature of those claims. But we appreciate the folks doing that. And something else cool to talk about, and that is happening at coronavirushawaii.com, Ryan.
That's right. We have a program where we are sending letters to our kupuna. And so we encourage you to head on over. These are some of the letters that have already come in. We're trying to collect a few thousand so that we can sort of create this pen pal program. We know that the likelihood is a lot of our elders and those in maybe these retirement communities and these care home facilities will probably be the last ones to be released from this lockdown. So while the city and state will maybe lift those bans, a lot of the elder population will probably have to hunker in place for a while. And so we want to support them by creating sort of a pen pal system, going back to the old school. So you can head on over to coronavirushawaii.com, sign up to become a pen pal. You can actually send your letters in directly this way, or you can actually fill out a online form where you can type your letter in there, and we actually will send it to a program that handwrites it itself. It's a computer automated system that writes the letter and will send it directly to these kupunas. So you can do the old fashioned way, or you can write it online. But again, coronavirushawaii.com. Great way for kids to get involved, teachers, if you're looking for something. We're looking for, again, a few thousand of these letters to go out. So encourage you to head on over and get involved there.
I didn't know if there was a program that could handwrite for you.
It's amazing.
That is pretty incredible. All right, tomorrow we have Dr. David Duroff of Kokua Kalihi Valley to talk about caring for our seniors, the most vulnerable folks in this crisis. So we're really looking forward to his perspective. Also, if you have someone that you care about who is a senior in your life, please tune in so you can find out how best to take care of them. We appreciate all those questions. We saw a lot of frustration and a lot of really good questions also in there. So we're going to go through all of those and hopefully have Scott Murakami on again next week to answer more of your questions.
Right. Until then, we will see you back here at 10:30 tomorrow here on the Honolulu Star Advertiser Facebook page. Until then, take care and aloha.